Welcome back to SFC Live. We're back in the sports bar following Luton Town versus Sunderland. Obviously not the result anyone wanted, Danny. We'll look back at the game as well in a moment. But it's been a great season, hasn't it, for Sunderland Football Club?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Obviously at this moment in time it doesn't feel great coming up short, going into this final 90 minutes before the playoff final, and it's been a big disappointment. Look over the course of 2 seconds. Oh, mate. Okay. But yeah, you look back as a whole over the course of the season, we've had a young squad, a lot of young players who have come up to this level for the first time in their careers, really, and it's been fantastic. But yeah, listen, we've got to dust ourselves off and go again next season now.
Let's start looking back through the game then and maybe discuss where Sunderland went wrong maybe this evening. We'll look back at the footage here. You know it was always going to be from the set pieces. There's going to be a lot of set pieces in these highlights, isn't it? Because that's where the tie was won and lost, wasn't it? Yeah, exactly that. I think you see in the first half alone, they had a lot more corners, set plays, wide free kicks coming into our box than what we've seen at the Stadium Light at the weekend. And it's that physicality, really. We see it there. Look at the size of their squad, their players. I mean, we've got everyone back there competing, trying the best. And unfortunately, on the first goal there, it drops to Osho. Nice, doesn't it? We've got 7 or 8 lads back in the 6-yard box. But unfortunately, we don't get the contact on it. Ends up in the back of the net. This one here, big penalty shout, isn't it? Is that a penalty for you?
I'm sure a lot of people in the room here, I think that's a penalty. And I think if it's a Premier League game, if it goes to VAR, that's getting given. His arm's away from his body. Yeah, it's 4 or 5 yards away, but his arm's away from his body. I think that's getting given, that one. Now you see it back now, and as he's coming back in, stops the ball. You see Trey Hume straight away. He's onto the referee, Alex Pritchard. They're getting around the ref. Unfortunately, he doesn't give it. But yeah, we just couldn't get into our stride tonight. Some of the football we played this season has been fantastic, but it just wasn't to be. Credit to Luton. I think we said on the comms that they pressed us higher than what they did at the weekend. They didn't allow us to bring the ball out from the back. They pressed Luke O'Nien. They pressed the widest centre halves as well. And credit to them. That's something they've looked at between Saturday and the game this evening. And also, from our point of view, we perhaps didn't put enough pressure on them at the top end of the pitch. From our point of view, to stop their centre-backs, shelling those long passes on top of us as a back line, and then obviously it becomes difficult to squeeze up from the back.
Did our forwards do anything differently as to what they did on Saturday, or was it more of a case of Luton nullifying them?
A bit of both, I think. I think if you look at the game Saturday, we had a lot of control on the game. We wore them down, really. They looked a bit leggy second half at the weekend, but they had good energy about them tonight. And obviously they got the goals, which gives them that boost, that confidence, and then it's up to us then to try and get back into the game, isn't it? And again, Trey Hume with another fantastic challenge there. He's put a lot of those in through the course of the season, hasn't he? And here we go now. This is on to the second one, isn't it? We get first contact on that one. Comes back out, trying to get pressure on the ball, wasn't to be. And credit to Tom Lockyer. He comes from around the back of the pack. He gets a run. I think he gets across Trey Hume, doesn't he? And he gets good contact and no chance for Anthony Patterson. Ball's flashed past him before he knows it. So, disappointing thing is as well, it's 3 minutes, I think, before the break, isn't it? Again, you've got the bodies back there, but it's getting contact.
What could they do differently there, though, Danny?
It's just stopping the run. It's difficult. They are a big physical side. It's just getting pressure. Even our smaller players really don't allow them to get that run, get the arm across, get the block on. We don't do that, and he gets a free run. And I think Trey Hume thinks he's going to get the header on it, but he's across him. And he's glanced it and it's in the back of the net, and obviously right on half-time there, cross comes in for Ahmad, and you fancy him, he's got that technical ability to catch the volley there, but unfortunately it wasn't to be, and it was an off night for Ahmad as well. You can see he was frustrated. He struggled to get into the game as a whole, really, and we huffed and puffed a lot in that second half, but we couldn't create that one good opportunity, what we needed to get back in the game.
Yeah, although the defence was getting shelled at points, we saw some brilliant saves and people putting their bodies on the line. That was actually a double header on the line, wasn't it, from Patrick Roberts on that occasion. We saw a great save from Anthony Patterson as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it was maybe, was it the top end of the field where we weren't at it?
Yeah, throughout really, trying to build out what are our strengths this season. It's been playing through the thirds, isn't it? We're not a team who can go long. We haven't got Ross Stewart in the team or Ellis Sims anymore. Joe, he works his shift, he puts his body around and trying to make it difficult for centre-backs, but we have to work our way through the thirds, and we weren't quite at it tonight. We had a couple of opportunities in the first half where the pass wasn't quite right, and even in the second half as well. And that's just sometimes how it goes in football. You mentioned it, was it before the game, of plan Bs. What's Luton plan B? They perhaps haven't got one. They go long and direct. for ourselves, we haven't got the physicality in the team at this moment in time to go that direct route. At times we have to try it later on in the game. We pushed Adji Elise up the top end of the pitch, but it was too little too late. You see Patrick coming in off that right hand side, Jack, but credit to them, they got bodies around them. You know, they know what our strengths are as well, and they doubled up really well at times and didn't allow Jack to get up ahead of steam, driving into the box. Patrick on the other side as well. I
think one point towards the end as well, Edouard Michu found himself as a bit of a false number 9, trying to lead the line. Does that just show how far the squad's got to, and maybe was it a game too far with this squad depleted with injuries?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say after the event, really, in hindsight, maybe. But yeah, listen, we've come up short. We did look a little bit leggy towards the end of the game as well. But it was a frantic pace to the game as well. And then obviously you're saying it there. You look to the bench. We brought Joe Geldart off, and then we haven't got another natural striker on the bench to come on and replace him. Edouard Michu's come on there. I wasn't sure where he was quite playing. He looked like he was like a false 9, really. Abdullah Bar come on as well, trying to support him. He had a couple of bright moments as well. But yeah, you're always hoping that you're getting into that last 10 minutes of the game, and we've made a few substitutions, looked to freshen up a little bit, but we couldn't create that one little bit of magic. Say Michu, he got in the box a couple of times, had a couple of passes, just went the wrong side of him, didn't they? So yeah, it's frustration. I think, especially after taking the lead from the first leg here at the weekend, you're thinking, how can we go down there? It's not in our nature, is it, to sit back either. We were never going to go down there and just sit back. But I think I give credit to Luton as well for the way they changed their game plan really from the weekend, pressed us higher and forced us into errors throughout the night really.
Reflecting on the season as a whole then, Danny, as we can do now, we've seen a style of play which is, some fans have said, it's the best football they've seen as a Sunderland fan this season. We've seen some brilliant goals, so somehow didn't make it into end of season list. But even looking at the last game, you had Ahmad, didn't you, scoring that brilliant goal. Just wasn't Ahmad's night tonight, but it possibly one of the greatest loan spells I've seen as a Sunderland fan.
You mentioned that the other day. Yeah, and you think if you're looking at Ahmad's performance tonight, and again I said it's Saturday, even before his goal, he looked quite frustrated. He had half an hour or so where he struggled to get on the ball. He was pulling out to the right hand side. He was having a little wander to the left. He drops deep, and that was similar tonight. He had that run in with the fan on the far side who gave him a little shove. Tom Lockyer, he had a little bit of a ding dong with him early on as well, and it perhaps takes his mind off the game a little bit, or perhaps we're relying on him to produce that little bit of magic because we know he's got it in his locker. But you look at the talent we've got on the pitch there. Jack struggled to get, saying their credit to their right back drama, he handled him quite well as well, but Jack struggled to get on those little mazy runs as well, Patrick at times, and then when it's not quite happening, that's just how it goes sometimes. So it's come at the wrong time for us for one of those games where one of our front four doesn't have that sort of 9 out of 10 performance tonight, and it wasn't to be. But on the flip side of that, you look at Luton and you say, give them credit. They do what they do really well. They shift it across the back. They go direct, they get balls into the front lads, they get bodies around them, and they create problems for you. And you can see that's why teams find it difficult to play against them.
Yeah, if anyone wants to fire in a question at Danny, by the way, Hugh's here and he's got a roving microphone. So if anyone wants to ask Danny a question, put your hand in the air and we can talk about what we saw in the game this evening. How do you think Luton will get on against Middlesbrough or Coventry?
Again, I'd say, well, looking at Coventry, perhaps a little bit similar to them. They do go a bit direct into Gyökeres at the top end of the pitch. Middlesbrough, more similar to ourselves, so we really like to try and get the ball down and play. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one goes tomorrow night. But, you're looking at perhaps Wembley, you think of it as a big pitch, don't you? And if you can stop Luton playing their style, really, and going long into the forwards, then you'll back Middlesbrough to create 1 or 2 opportunities, or Coventry if they get there as well. Okay. So we're sort of watching it with a little bit of interest now, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got a gentleman over there who would like to ask a question.
Listen, it's been difficult. Tony Mowbray's come in, hasn't he? He's obviously lost Ross Stewart. Ellis Sims has obviously gone as well. Joe Gellard's come in, a young lad, and I think in recent weeks Joe he's puts in a shift. Perhaps we're obviously looking at a few more goals from Joe, but I think if you're looking at his overall performances, he works the centre halves well. But then we're looking at the bench there when Joe comes off because he's tiring obviously towards the end of the game, and then you're looking at the bench. What have we got at the top end of the pitch? So unfortunately tonight we haven't got away with it. But throughout the course of the season, we have with Ahmad chipping in with goals. Jack Clark's obviously produced goals at times. Patrick's, I think, has got 5 so far this season. So yeah, I think we finished 4th, didn't we, in terms of the goals we've scored. But it's in a strange way. You know, you look at it, I think Ross had 10 after 12 games. But then it's midfielders really, or number 10s that have been contributing and getting the goals for us. Now you perhaps look at where we would be if you have 2 out-and-out normal, natural strikers really. You know, we'd be right up there, wouldn't we? And that's probably come to bite us tonight as well, really, hasn't it? And then, yeah, as you say there, we need defenders, but unfortunately Dan Ballard's picked up his injury. Danny Bart a few weeks ago, both been excellent when they've played this season, down to the bare bones at the back as well. So I think...
Why are you not playing, Danny?
Why am I not playing? Because I'm too old now, that's why I'm sat here. I know what you're saying there, exactly what you're saying, and I thought about this, but I think what's happened is obviously we went to that back 3 against Preston, didn't we, in the second half, and obviously scored the 3 goals. And then Tony Mowbray stuck with it at the weekend, and obviously we've done well, other than the goal what they scored off that first corner. I think Luke and Trey handled them really well at the back, so he stuck with it again, really. And again, you're asking about Adji Elise. He hasn't played for weeks, so he's probably doubting his fitness and coming into a big game as well. Now, if he pulls up after 10-15 minutes with his injury again, then you're using a sub early on. So I know what you're saying, and perhaps it's looking back on the game now. And listen, they bombarded us in that first half, and you got Joe Anderson on the bench. I'm guessing Tony Mowbray maybe doesn't think he's quite ready yet. So he's gone with what we had, really. And, you know, unfortunately, you've said it there. Look, the physicality mismatch was there on show tonight, wasn't it? And we couldn't quite deal with their presence in and around the 18-yard box.
All right, we've got another question from this side of the room.
You play to your strengths, you play to what squad you've got, and I think if you look at Rob Edwards, he come in, he's taking over that squad, and if I said it in the comms there, when you've got 2 6'4", 6'5" centre forwards, what you're going to do, play to your strengths, you drop balls into them, you get bodies around. Listen, it's not great to watch, you know, you look at the contrasting styles, we like to try and get the ball down and play football, we can't afford to go long because we haven't got that 6'5" target man to get hold of the ball. But that's the way they've played. It's got them to 3rd in the league. They finished 11 points ahead of us. I know you're saying you wouldn't like to go and watch it every week. I guess that's what you're saying. And you've enjoyed good football, what we've played this season, and scored some excellent goals. But that's how football is. There's more than one way to win a game of football. They've played their style of football. And unfortunately, from our point of view, they're off to Wembley and we're not.
Yeah, I think that's probably about it for the programme this evening. Oh, no, one more. Come on. Just shout if you...
Yeah, well, I think everyone agrees with you. Of course it has, yeah, it just feels a little bit sour at the minute because we've come up short, and everybody booked the hotels, thought they were, you know, going back to Wembley again this season, but it's not meant to be. I think positives you take from it, work your way through the squad. Anthony Patterson, first season at this level, been excellent. I think grown as a goalkeeper. Work your way, Trey Hume coming into the squad, you know, couldn't get in early on, come from Linfield last season. I think he's been excellent. And just work your way. A lot of young boys we brought in. You know, you brought young talent in who, a lot of these boys haven't played men's football before this season, and look how they've taken to it as well. You go through the team. You know, Pierre Ekwah's come in the last few weeks as well. You can see him grown as a player. So yeah, it's difficult when you look back at it and just look at the goals we scored. Frankie said it there. We could have had our own goal of the season, really, couldn't we? And I was just surprised as anybody that none of ours made it into the goal of the season contenders, which was a bit bizarre. But yeah, I think everyone, you know, 46,000 at the stadium at the weekend, plus there's more fans obviously around the world, will be immensely proud of what they've seen this season. And Frankie said it there, some of the best football, most of the fans, you know, in this room and who have watched us this season, probably some of the football we've played has been the best football they've seen in their careers and their time supporting the football club. So there's a lot to take from it. I'm sure when the dust settles, we'll all look back and go, you know, I know a lot of fans will say perhaps we weren't quite ready to go up after coming up last season. You know, I look at it from a player's point of view where I think, you know, you take that opportunity. It might be a while now before it comes around, but we've got to keep on building. The recruitment in the summer will obviously be key as well. Tie 1 or 2 down to contracts maybe, and we build again and go again next season. You know, get the break in now. The lads recharge the batteries, and we get ready to go again in the summer.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks for everyone for coming down to the Sports Bar this evening. It's been a great season. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be for Sunderland this season, but I'm sure you're all as proud of Sunderland Football Club once again as you all have been before. Thanks for watching Around the World as ever this season on SAFC Live. Hopefully we'll be back very soon with some more games next season. Thanks again from the Stadium of Light. We'll see you soon.